Hello everyone and welcome to another day on Learning Illustrator. Today is day 11 and to start with, let's first see what all we learned in day 10. Alright, so in day 10 we learned a lot about coloring and we started with swatches and we learned about swatch panel, then we learned about gradients. Under that we learned about gradient tool and gradient panel and how we can work with both of them at the same time, and then we learned about strokes. We saw stroke panel and how it works and how can we create a variety of strokes using the stroke panel. After that, we learned about width tool. The shortcut key for that was Shift W, and after that, we learned about eyedropper tool. So there we finished our day 10, and in day 11, that is today, it says just a simple exercise. So yeah, that's what we are going to do. We are actually going to create example using all the things we have learned so far. So I'm excited about that. I hope you are ready. So let's get started and let's go. So today, to start the chapter, to start the video, first of all, we are going to create an example, and this time we will use all the techniques or all the tools we have learned so far in 10 videos, and we will try to create something using out of that knowledge. Okay, so let me just open a file for you and we will see what are we going to create. So this is a clock example.ai, and okay, so this is the thing which we are going to create, and like you can see here, we have some gradient going on, some radial gradient, and then there is a pattern fill, and then there is this all the markings on the clock, and then there are these three dialers, and then we have this border of the clock, and then there is a drop shadow which gives us a feel that it is slightly above the artwork or the light is falling from the top and it is giving a shadow at the bottom. So how to do that, we will see it in a while, because I think we haven't covered effects so far. So before going in or before jumping and creating example, I think first of all we will just see how one or two effects will work, and then rest of them you can explore by yourself. So I'm going to create a new file here, doesn't matter the resolution or anything, and just pick up a shape and create a shape. Okay, now to open the effects, you can go to effects menu from your menu bar, and when you click on it you get all this menu open, and it has this two kind of effects: Illustrator effects and Photoshop effects. So it is just a category that has divided variety of effects. Like in Photoshop effects you get this blur, or you get this brush stroke effects, and further they are divided into further more effects which you can click and apply. Again, you are free to experiment with all these effects. I'm just gonna go and explain few of them. Like, let's say first of all we will see the Photoshop based effect, which is Gaussian blur. So when I click on this, and you can again click on preview to see how is it going to affect your shape. And when I click OK, so the radius of the blur is 20 pixel. So it just defines how much strength of the blur you want. So click on OK, and here you can see that you have your blurred shape over here. Okay, again I can just go and undo it. If you want to apply the same effect again, when you click on effect window, effect menu, then you get this apply Gaussian blur. So it just copies, or it just remember the last effect that you have applied, and then it will show you the last effect. If you want to apply it again, you can just click over it. All right, after that, let's see how can we create drop shadow. So in the Illustrator based effects, you can go to stylize, and here you have drop shadow. Okay, so let's click on this and see what options do we get. Now it has this, first of all it says mode multiply screen overlay hard. What all has this, we will see it in, I think, in future videos, because right now I have to explain it a lot to just to clear this thing. But make sure you have your drop shadow either on normal or on multiply. Multiply works best with the drop shadow. And then we have this opacity. So I better click on preview to have a live preview for this. So yeah, you can see this is how our shape will be after we apply this effect. So now you can increase or decrease the opacity, that how much opacity do you want. So right now it's 72, so I can decrease it to 10%. So you can see the opacity of the shadow has been decreased. I think it will be 50. If I make it 50, it should be fine. Yeah, that looks good. Then you have this X offset and Y offset. So how does this work actually? X offset defines that how much your shadow will be in x-axis, and y-offset defines that how much your shadow will go down on the y-axis. Okay, so let's open our effect window again and go to stylize and drop shadow, and here we can see the x offset is 7 pixel and y offset is 7 pixel. So if I decrease x offset to 0, so you can see there is no horizontal transition of the shadow, it's directly coming down. That means it's giving us a feel that the light is somewhere on the top, and when light falls on this star, then it is giving us a shadow over here. Again, you can just remove y offset also. Again, you can increase the blur value, let's say 7, 8 pixel to anything you want or your machine supports. So 30 pixels, the wider or the blurrier your shadow will get. If you make it 1 pixel or 2 pixel, then it will be really sharp. So better increase the offset value a bit, let's say 7. So yeah, you can see it very clearly now. And here, from here, you can decide the shadow color, whether you want it in red or do you want it in gray or any other color like blue or anything. So let's say I decrease y offset as 0 also and make it 20 pixels. 20 pixels is too much, so let's make it 10. Okay, and then you have this darkness value which will decide the darkness of the color. So it will work on black by default, but I'm gonna go with color. Yeah, blue looks fine, and click OK. So there I have my drop shadow on the shape. Now I can just click and remove the outline from here. So here I have my shape with some drop shadow. Now if I move my object, this effect will move along with the object. So that's how effect works. Now there are some more effects like 3D one, which is like extrude and bevel and revolve, rotate. So you can experiment with all these effects. Let's say if I click on preview, so how is it gonna change my shape? Now here you can see it has worked like this, but I think if you choose a rectangle instead of the star or a complex shape, then for experimenting the effects, then you will be able to understand it better. So yeah, just advise that when you are learning the effects, better use some other shape like a rectangle or something, so that you can understand what's exactly going on in the 3D effects. Okay, so again, we are going to cover these examples, or we are going to cover these effects in future videos. But if you want to experiment, you are free to do so. And I'm going to click cancel here. And so yeah, I hope you have understood the drop shadow effect. So let's jump back to our example here. And since we know how to create the shadow, now we only have to learn how to create the rest of the clock. So let's begin our example and let's start the creation process. Okay. Or before that, we can actually plan it out. So one thing is sure that I need a circle, and then the other thing is I can use this stroke here, which is this thick, and I can fill gradient into it. So let's say if I zoom in, so this can be a gradient inside the stroke. Or the other thing we can do is create these 3 circles and then have fill in them instead of the stroke gradient. So we can just sketch it very quickly, or we can just plan it out here itself. Let's say I create this outermost circle, and then there is a circle inside it, and then there is a circle inside it. So something like this. Then these 2 circles will have orange fill, and then in the center we will create one more circle, and then these 3 lines. And then how to create these things we will see. We can use rotate tool here. So this is how I'm planning to do it. The other ways, in this way there will be no outlines. The only thing we will be dealing with is filling gradients inside the shapes or inside the fill. The other ways, we can create a circle like this, and we can have a fill inside that, or sorry, we can create a stroke which is this thick. So if we create a stroke, let's say the stroke will be this thick, then we can fill gradient inside the stroke, and outside that we can create one more circle with the same stroke, and we can put behind it, and then we create a circle inside, and then rest of the process will be same. So there are 2 ways to do it. There will be more than these 2 ways. You might be able to figure out some other ways also, and that is completely fine, because like I said before, in this software you will find million of ways to create one single thing. So it's just these two ways which I have noticed and I have planned to do it. So let's use the second technique and start creating the clock. All right, so select a circle and here create a circle. Now from the center, when I go to the center of my artboard, it shows me this center. Now if you are not able to see it, you might want to enable your smart guides. You can enable it from here, go to view, and then you have the smart guides. The shortcut for that is Control U. So once you turn this on, you will be able to see this center or all the markings around the corners and all that. That is the smart guide feature. Okay, so when my cursor is at the center, I'm just gonna click and drag to create a circle. I want a perfect circle over here, so I will hold shift, and now you can see it is scaling to the right hand side, right top side, but I don't want that. So I want it to scale from all the sides from the center. So I'm gonna press Alt here so that it scales from all the directions. And when I feel that this circle is big enough for the clock, so I can release my mouse click and release the Alt and Shift key together or one by one, it doesn't matter. Alright, now the circle has disappeared, but actually it is there. It seems disappear because the fill inside the circle is white, there is no outline, and the artboard is also white. So if you press Ctrl Y on your keyboard, that is you jump to outline mode, then you can see that actually there is a circle over here. So just select this circle and press Ctrl Y again to come back to preview mode. Now you can color it the way you want, or actually just have the default fill. And like we planned, so we are going to create a thick outline of this. To increase the outline width or to increase the stroke width, we can go to stroke here. We can just click on this, and from here we can select the stroke width to, I think, 20 points. Let's just see, does it match exactly like this? No, it doesn't actually. It is a lot thinner. So let's increase it further. Make it 40 points, and I think 40 points is again too much. So we have to reduce it to somewhere in between. So let's type 30 instead. And yes, I think 30 looks fine. Does it? Or 35? Should it be 35? Yeah, 35 looks fine. Okay, so this is the first outline which I have created. Now what I'm going to do is Control C, Control Shift V. Or actually, before pasting it, we should make changes into this outline and then we should paste it. Okay, so let's first try to create this kind of gradient. Like you can see here, it's a little dark here, and then if we come to the center, it's very white. So let me just move this shape for you, so you'll be able to see it. So yeah, here you can see that if you go at the border, you can see a little amount of shadow, and as you come to the center part of the dial, then there's a white fill. It is complete white, and then it slowly changes its color to gray or black. Okay, so let's do that. Now we know how can we achieve that. We can use radial fill here to achieve something like that. But again, it is not exactly like this. So for that, what I can do is make some changes in the gradient over here. So if I shift my white bucket to the other end, then I'm able to achieve something like this. But again, you can see here, it's if I just move it out again, this is a very smooth transition here. When I look at this gradient, you can see a very sharp change of color. So I don't want that. So to achieve something like that, we can actually move our bucket over here, and we can move this top diamond part to somewhere here. Okay, 87%, I think 87% looks fine. And then move the bucket again till we achieve a very smooth transition of color from white to black. And this looks almost similar to this one. Yes, it is. And yeah, I'm gonna fix this one then. And now we will color the outline. So here you can see that there is a gradient applied on our outline. Okay, but we know if we want to apply gradient to the outline, we cannot have these two kind of strokes, which is the stroke inside the path or stroke outside the path. It should be on the path. So then only we will be able to apply gradient. So let's make sure that you have this checked on, and then go to the gradient, select your path as select your stroke as active one, and then go to type and select radial gradient. Okay, from here you can select this one, which is apply gradient across the stroke, and when you click on this, you can see that how my gradient has changed, but this is just too much of white, so I'm gonna change this gradient again to default settings. Let's type 50 over here. Okay, and now we will try to create a gradient which looks something like this. So if I go here, I can see that there are some 3 to 4 color fills. One should be over here, one should be over here, that is 2 bucket. In between there is this red and there is this yellow also. So something like this also, we can create a gradient like this. So let's just try and creating something, that kind of gradient. Okay, so when I double click on the bucket, I get this color panel, and RGB is by default mode, so that will work fine for me. So just decrease the yellow value and the red. Okay, and this one also, just make it red for now. Double click on the bucket and make this value red. Okay, now we have red border. So in between I want yellow one, so just click over here in between, somewhere around 50, I think. You can even type the value to make it 50. Okay, now again double click on this bucket and make a yellow fill over here. Okay, and this is not what we want actually, because it is behaving. Okay, so I think from here, here and here we have to make some changes over here. Let's say reverse the gradient. It doesn't make any change. Okay, so instead of a radial, actually let's select the linear one, because it is already across the stroke, and when we select radial, so it is like applying a radial gradient over a radial stroke, and that's why it is giving this that gradient 2 times, and I don't want that kind of gradient, so let's select the linear one, and here we have that gradient back which we wanted. Okay, now one thing I know is I need to create one more bucket over here to get this sharp line, and this looks pretty good now, but it is exactly at the center, which I don't want. So let's shift these 2 buckets a little bit to the left, and this looks okay. Okay, now it looks okay, but this red and yellow is too bright, so let's just try decreasing their value a bit. So double click on this and decrease the value of yellow a bit, and then here red, let's decrease its brightness. Okay, and there we go. I think this looks almost like that one. Control 0. Yeah, the yellow value is still, it's actually orange, it's not yellow, and we have very bright yellow over here. So let's decrease this value even further and make it something like this. Yeah, it looks almost same. We can even go over here, double click on this bucket, copy the value like 255, 115, and or we can copy this color code itself and come back over here, select the curve or select the path, double click over here and paste the value. But then again, it's just copying and pasting. We are not using anything by ourselves. We are not using our eyesight to look at the exact color. So I prefer changing color by myself. Yes, it will not exactly be the same, but it will help us identifying colors better. Okay, so still I'm going to decrease this value a bit because I have seen it. So yeah, now this looks good. The width wise, it looks okay. I think width is little less, so we can increase it to 40 points. Okay, now it looks width wise okay, and then it has this kind of shadow which I wanted, and then it has this border which I have achieved using linear gradient and then apply gradient across the stroke method. Now the next thing I'm going to achieve is if I just undo over here, this border. So I want this second border. So for that, what I can do is copy and paste this same shape, Now if I paste it, you can see there is obviously change of position. So to paste at exact same location, we can press Ctrl Shift V. So now we have two objects at the same place. To see that, you can click and move the object on top so that you are sure that we have these two objects at same place. Now what you can do is select the top object and just scale it a bit so that we have something like this. But now you are not able to see any change because the object at top is scaling and the object in the back is the same. So to bring this object in the back, what you can do is right click on this object and then you have this arrange menu over here. So when you hover over the arrange, you can see this four sub menus which says bring to front, bring forward, bring back, send backward and send to back. Now I'm going to click on send to back and we will see how these four also works. So here we have our object at the back. We can increase it further to create an outline like this, and this also looks okay. Okay, this looks even better because here, like you can see, there's a dark one and then there is again a change, but here I have achieved something different. It gives me again a feel that there's a depth over here, and I think this looks better than that one. Okay, but now let's see this arrange options. So I'm gonna create a new file and we will create some 3 to 4 circles over here, one above another, and let's have a different fill in all of them. So go to our swatch panel here, let's select a different fill for all those colors, green and blue. Okay. Now if you right click and go to arrange, now bring front will bring your object to the front. So it works like this. The example for that should be, it's like the paper of the, if you have a notebook with you, so you have that papers stacked one over another, right? So it is the same thing. So when you create something, then it stays at a place, and when you create something again, it goes on the top, it goes on top of that object, and when you create one more object, so it goes on top of these two objects. Now if I look it in 3D view, it will be something like this. So this is at the bottom one, so that say one, this is at the second or this is at the mid layer, and this is at the top position. So when you say bring to front, so this object will directly jump to the top. When you say bring forward, so this object will jump one step forward and it will come in between over here. Okay, so let's try that. And the same thing applies to send to back and send backward. So let's say this object is behind all of these objects. Yeah, the red circle is behind all of these circles. So when I right click and say arrange bring forward, so it has come one step forward, that is it has come above green. So you might not be able to see it, but you can see it now. So if I say arrange bring send to back, sorry, it is at the bottommost position. But when you right click and say arrange bring forward, so it has come one step forward, and then again arrange bring forward, so it has come one step forward again, and then arrange bring forward, so it is on the top now. Now green circle is at the bottommost, so what we can do this time is right click, transform, sorry, arrange and click on bring to front, so it has directly come to the top. So that's how this stacking order works, and this is also called Z depth. So Z depth is like this whole three-dimension thing works on three axes. One is this X, or you can say this X, Y, and there is a Z thing. So this is called Z depth. Now it is not, Z depth is generally not visible in 2D software like Illustrator, Photoshop, but when you go to 3D software like 3ds Max or Maya and all the software, Blender, so you can see, actually you can see your objects in 3D form and you can see them moving around in Z depth or Z space and all that. Okay, so I think that makes this arrangement options clear. So I'm gonna close this file and we'll come back to our example here. So here, like, we have just clicked and say transform or arrange send to back so that it stays at a bottommost position. Okay, so now we have achieved these two things. The next thing to be achieved is creating this number positions or creating these markings. Let's press Ctrl 0, and For that, what we can do is create a line from the center. So you can see when I click, when I go to the center, it shows me this center marking. So that is fine. Now click and drag from the center and go all the way to the top. You can hold shift to have a perfectly straight line. And when you release your key, you get this line. You get this path along with the stroke. Now we might want to change this stroke because this is not a kind of stroke which we want. So go to the stroke panel. Before that, just have a default fill in this. You can say color to no. Coming to the color, if I select this shape behind and I bring it aside of this, you can see there is still a fill color inside this. But the point to be noted that it will stay behind all the time. This is how my clock gonna look. So if I am giving additional fill over here, it's just increasing additional amount, or it's just increasing the size of my file, which I don't want. So what I can do is I can just have no fill inside this second circle. So select your fill as active one and just click on this none, or you can press backward slash also. Sorry, forward slash to have no fill inside this. Okay, let's just undo it and then have no fill. All right. So like you can see, it doesn't even make a difference. The only thing we have done is just the optimization thing, so that it improves the performance. Okay, so now coming to this markings or the number markings, we have this line ready. Now we can select this using our selection tool and we can scale it to this much. Okay, this looks fine. Just zoom in, select this line and increase its width to 40 points, or I think 10 points. Again, just double click on this scale tool here and make sure that you have this turned off, which is scale strokes and effects, so that you don't accidentally scale your stroke while scaling objects. Okay. So this marking looks fine, I think. Yeah, this looks fine. Now we need a rounded corners over here. So for that, we can select the path, and then over here we have this rounded cap. So we can select this one. Now we can again reduce the marking size a bit more. Okay, so this looks good. Now what I want is I want to rotate this mark, and first of all we will create 4 positions, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, which will give us the number of 12, 3, 6 and 9. Okay. So to rotate it at a fixed position, you can use the rotate tool. So press R on your keyboard to use to select your rotate tool, and then go to the center over here until it shows you this center text. And when you click on this, then you have fixed your reference point. Now to rotate or to copy your shape to this part or to the 90-degree, you can press Alt and start dragging. And when you reach this 90-degree, you can release your mouse click, or you can even press Shift to have a shape snapped exactly at -45 or -90 degrees. So when you release your mouse click and release your Shift and Alt key, you have your shape copied. Again, you can press Ctrl D to copy the shape again. Okay, so this is one of the technique. The other technique I would like to use is a more precise one. So select your shape first and then press R to select your rotate tool. And now while placing your reference point, press Alt instead. So when I click this time, I get this window. So normally we achieve this window when we double click on the rotate tool. So at that time we achieve this window, or we get this window, but the problem is the reference point is at the center of the shape. So to position a reference point somewhere else and get this window, so for that you can just hold Alt while positioning your reference point, and when you click you get this option window along with your reference point position at the place you want. Okay, so from here I can just the advantage of this option is that I get very precise values which I might not be able to achieve using the mouse key. So press -90 over here. You can have a preview again to see is that exactly what you wanted. And once it is done, then you can click copy and press Ctrl D 2 times to duplicate it. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we have to create this small markings. So for that we can select all these four paths, and this time we will press R on a keyboard to select the rotate tool. Again press Alt and position your reference point exactly at the center. And now you can see that between every these two marking we have two more. So let's say if this is 12, it will be then 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, no, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, then it will be like 1, 2 over here, and then 3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we need two more markings in between all of them. So for that, what we can do is copy them exactly at minus 30 degree and copy. So we have this markings placed, and again we can press Ctrl D to have markings at minus 60 degree. Okay, now select all these center markings or all these middle markings, and we are gonna reduce their width to 5 points so that they are actually thinner than this vertical or horizontal ones. Okay, so once done, then you can select all your markings, select whole of your art, and you can press shift and drag again to deselect these two circles. Okay, once done, you have this marking selected only. Okay, and from here we can reduce its opacity a bit, or we can change its color. So to reduce the opacity, what you can do is go to this transparency panel. You can either open it from the window menu. So go to window, and there you have your transparency. The shortcut key for that is shift control F10. So just click on this one and you have your transparency menu open. From here you can decide the opacity of every object. Right now it's 100%. I'm gonna make it 50%, so it looks a bit gray. The advantage of transparency over using color is that if you have something behind this object, let's say if I move it behind, it is actually black, so it should be in some other color, let's say blue. So you can see half of the object through your transparent object also. So this is the advantage of transparency. Let's say if I instead of doing the transparency thing, I reduce the black brightness and make it a little gray. So you get something like this, which I actually don't want. What I want here is if I put texture behind it, then this marking should come above texture, and if there is a texture behind this marking, then it should be visible also. So that's what my intention is, and that's how I'm planning to do it. But if you want something else, then you have other options also, like you can just color them gray instead of dealing with the transparency. But yeah, just know that this is how we change the transparency of any object. Okay, so we have achieved this much of the result. Now the only thing left is create this inside part. So first of all, we are going to create this texture now. So for that, just copy this shape again, this one which we have created. So Control C, Control Shift V to paste at the same place. And this time we will remove the outline of this one, and we will instead remove the fill also. Just have a default fill, remove the outline. And now you can see that my object has come above the outline, because if you click on my original object here, you can see the outline is halfway inside the object and halfway outside the object. But when I remove the outline, I get this object which is above my outlines, and for that the only option is to scale it down a bit. But before that, we are going to apply a texture on it. So to apply the texture, we can go to our swatch panel here, and from here we have this library which is called patterns. Inside this pattern, you can go and explore various patterns by yourself. Let's say if we go to this pattern and click on something like this. So this looks good also. The pattern I have used is here in nature. When you go to nature foliage, and you have this first pattern, I think. Is it the first one or something like this I have used? Yeah, this one. So this is what I have used, but you can use other patterns also. Let's say the one we just saw was this one. This looks equally good actually. Like this looks really good. So you can try all these things and see what suits you best, or what looks best on your design. So let's say this one looks really professional. So we can either go with that one also. but since we want to achieve the exact same results, I'm just gonna go to foliage here and select the last one. Okay, now the next thing to do is scale this down a bit. So you can go to your selection tool, select the object, and go to any of your corner point. And while scaling, you can press shift to have a proportionate scale, and alt so that it scales from all the directions at once. Otherwise, it will just scale like this, which I don't want. So while scaling, press alt and shift together, and when you can see this blue line which is moving. So when this blue line just comes inside your stroke, at that time you can just release it and release it. So here I have achieved a very precise results, and this looks good. Now the next thing to do here is again decrease the transparency of this one, because this is too much of black and I don't want that much black here. So decrease the transparency to 50 or even more. 20 looks really good. Okay, I think here also I have, okay, the here transparency is, okay, here transparency is also 20. All right, so far so good. Now the next thing we want to achieve is this reflection. So again, we can achieve this by using our gradient. So we have the shape now. So we can just copy and paste the shape again, Control C, Control Shift V. And you can notice from the change that the darkness of this pattern has just increased. If I remove this, you can see it's very dull. So you can make out that yes, it has been copied again. Okay, so let's say this time we are gonna fill gradient color inside this, and for that let's reduce transparency also and make it 100% opaque. Okay, so this time we're gonna use radial gradient here, and we want now the type of gradient we want is that it gives us this kind of sharp line. So something like that we have achieved over here when we created a really sharp line. So let's see how can we do this one also. So for that, let's create another bucket, another white one, and actually let's make all of them black, or right now just make it white. Okay. And then again, if you want to create a bucket of same color, you can press Alt on your keyboard, drag that bucket, and you will get a bucket which is of exactly same color. So again, I'm gonna do the same thing with black one, and click Alt and drag the bucket, so you will have a duplicate bucket over there. And when I bring these two buckets really close, you can see that I have a very sharp line over here. So I think I'm going to achieve something like that very easily. Okay, so here we have achieved something. Now what I'm going to do is reverse the gradient over here, so that I have black inside and white outside. And once that white fill is done, what I can do is reduce their transparency to 0. So for the gradient, you can go to this opacity over here in gradient panel and reduce their transparency to 0 so that it is transparent. So look how we have achieved. But if you are doing something like that, if you are making other objects transparent, then instead of making them white, it makes more sense than if you color them black instead. Now, why I mean that? So for that, let's see another example. Let's say this is a circle, and here I have this two colors with 100% opacity, and this one turns from blue to orange. Okay, and okay, there's no problem with that. Now what I want is to make this orange 100% transparent. So just select this bucket and reduce opacity earlier to 0. Now you can see that that color has gone now and the color is transparent, but that shift from blue to orange is still here. Now if you want something to be transparent, then instead of changing the color or instead of having some other color, just have a bucket of same color and then reduce the opacity. Okay, select the shape instead first. Okay, and then reduce the opacity to 0. So now you can see that yes, the color is gone from the right side, but at least I have this blue to blue transition instead of blue to orange and transparent. So the same thing can happen here also. The only difference is this margin is very less, but still for the sake of precision, I'm just gonna color it black, and this one also. And now I'm gonna decrease transparency for these two buckets by 0. Alright, so now we have achieved something like this. The only thing to be done is reposition this gradient. So press G on your keyboard so that you get this, so you have this gradient tool selected, and after that you can click on this circle and move it somewhere to the bottom. So you have it repositioned, and then you can just squash it a bit. So once squashed, you can go to this rectangle, click and drag to make our gradient bigger, or you can go to here also and click and drag to make overall gradient a bigger size. Okay, and just drag it a bit. Alright, and I think this looks fine. Alright, this looks really good. Now, as you can see, since we have scaled the gradient, so this shift is getting a bit blur. So, and I cannot adjust it from here because if I go beyond this, I think I'm just gonna swap these two buckets, or these two buckets gonna cross each other. So for that, I can just hover over this line, and here you can see I can achieve a greater level of precision here. So just zoom in really high, and then you can bring these two buckets really close. Okay, so same thing, we could not do it from here, so that's where gradient tool comes into picture. And let's press Ctrl 0, and here you can see we have achieved a really sharp line. It's actually too sharp, maybe blur it a bit. Press Ctrl Z, and we need it close but not that close, because you're getting a very sharp line there, and I think this is fine. Okay, so this looks good this time. Now let's reduce the transparency, the overall transparency of the object. Make it 40, it's I think too high. Make it 10. When 10 is too much, so let's make it just 7 or 5%. So that it is visible, but still it gives us a feel that yes, it is reflecting something. There's a top and there's a bottom part, and this is a glass kind of feel. So this is the object which we have created, and you can see that just by using the gradient options or the radial gradient, how nice results we can achieve. Okay, the next thing to be done is create this minute hand, this hour hand, and this second hand, and then we have this small thing at the top which we are going to place. Okay, so let's create another line for that. Press shift again, hold shift key to create a perfectly vertical line. Again, go to the center, start dragging and create a vertical line. Again, press shift to create a horizontal line, and then you can just go to center and drag a line anywhere you want, because it's the second hand, it can be anywhere, and you can decide the length of second hand also. Now we have created all these three lines, but it's not visible because we don't have any fill in the outline. So let's have default fill right now, and so that we can see our clock hands. All right, now we know this kind of results can be achieved using width tool, and this kind of arrows can be achieved from stroke settings. So let's just do it really quickly. Select both of them combinedly because both of them have almost same properties, and go to stroke panel above here. Sorry, go to this file instead. Okay, and go to stroke panel and make their width by default 3 points or more than that. I think 10 points looks fine. Okay, and then have an arrow of which arrow should we use here now? That is a question. I think this one, arrow 10, looks fine. Okay, so I think it's the same arrow. Yeah, it looks good. And for the second hand, we can increase its width to 4 points. I think 4 points look good. And then again, we can go here to the arrowhead and have its arrowhead as arrow 24. If it is too big, you can go and decrease its size to this much. Okay, so this looks excellent. Now we can go to our width tool by pressing Shift W on our keyboard, and you can right click and on one of this arrow or one of this path and go to isolate selected path so that we are inside this path and we don't make changes accidentally to another paths also. And having a width tool selected, we can go to the end of this arrow or the path and increase its width a bit. Just click and drag to increase the width and even more, I think. Okay, I think that is little too much. This much looks fine. For a greater level of precision, you can double click at the center so that you have this values with yourself which says 10 pixel, 10 pixel and total width is 20 pixel. So I think that is fine. Here also you can just double click and let's say instead of total width 10 pixel, I'll make it 8 pixels and click OK. Okay, so now that we know the values, we can double click here, go out of the isolation mode, right click, isolate the another path, and by selecting the width tool, we can just double click on this arrow and type our values, which is 10, 10, and here we can double click and type our values, which is 4, 4 pixels and click OK. Okay, so the last part left is creating a circle at the center. So I just copied and pasted this gradient we have created, that circle, and I'm just scaling it down a bit. So it's like this much, and then have a black fill inside this instead of a gradient one. So now you are not able to see it properly because we have a transparency on this object. So thus just go to transparency panel and reduce the opacity to 100% and bring it on the top. Okay, now there is a slight difference between this arrow color and this dialer. So you can again go to this, select all these arrows, double click over here, and you can see that it's not exactly black. So just make it exactly black, and there we go. Okay, but there's some more things that need to be done. First of all, I think this arrow width can be increased further. So select both of them and actually press Shift W, double click here, and instead of 20 make them 22. Again here also we can make it 22 instead. And now select both these two paths and go to stroke properties, and from here just increase the arrow head value to 50 or 60%, I think. Yeah, 60% is big enough. Yes, it is good. Okay, press 0. Now we want our second hand to be in red color, so select the second hand, double click on the stroke and select a red color instead. Now if you want second hand to be on top, because if you look at some clock, then you have this second hand on the top with a red circle on the top. So you can just right click on this, arrange and bring forward or bring to front so that it comes on the top. You can again copy this circle and paste it again. So Control C to copy it, Control Shift V to paste it at the same place, and just scale it a bit. Again, to bring it on the top, you can go to arrange and bring to front and have a red color inside this instead of a black one. Okay, so it's only applying the gray one. So from here you can go to this color panel and select RGB from this top right drop down menu. Once RGB selected, then it will select red color for you. Okay, so this looks more realistic than this one because here we have second hand behind this, but this looks even more better. Alright, so the next thing to do is adding drop shadow to these hands, and then the final part to be done is we can even enhance these two arrows a bit more. Instead of just having a flat black color, we can even add some depth to these two arrows. So for that, what I can do, I can select this arrow and go to the gradient panel, select one of the gradient from here. Again, make sure that you have your outline selected as active one. When you click on gradient, your gradient will be applied on the outline. From here I can rotate my gradient by 90, minus 90 or plus 90, anything is fine. And I want to achieve some sharp gradients like this one, which we did in this circle. So just click Alt and drag left click, alt and drag this to over these two buckets to get something like this. So now that we are on center, we can change this white value to black one, which is 90. Looks fine, I think. Yes, 90 will look good. Okay. Again, it gives us a 3D look that this bottom part, or this middle part is on the top compared to this two ends. Now we might want to reverse the gradient because while making we have decided that the light is on the top, so it falls from here. So the top part of this hand will glow and the bottom part will be on the shadows. Again, for this one, if you want to apply the same gradient, we can just select this arrow and press I on our keyboard to select eyedropper tool and click on this path to copy the exact same gradient, and it has applied very nicely. Again, I can reverse this gradient so that the light is over here somewhere and it falls on this block. So this part is illuminating and the other part is in dark. Okay, now let's select all these three paths and these three hands and go to Effect, Stylize Drop Shadow. You can click on preview to see how your drop shadow will work, and you can see here like it has taken our last time values, and I might want to change it a lot. Make blur 2 points, opacity is 70% fine, and the Y offset should be 5 pixels, I think. Yes, 5 pixels is too much, so make it 2 pixels, and blur is 1. And even more, let's make it 3. Blur is 1.5, and it looks better now. Okay, so when I click OK, again we can add drop shadow to this one also. Just select this shape, go to Effect, and you have this option enabled already which says drop shadow, apply drop shadow. So click on this and it will apply same effect over here. Okay, so the only thing to be done is apply drop shadow to the last part, the outermost part, and we can go to, we cannot use the same option again because we have to change our drop shadow values over here. Here we might want to increase blur value to I think 5 pixels and offset value to 7, Y offset to 7. X offset will still be 0, but we can obviously reduce our opacity to 50. When you click OK, so here you have achieved your wall clock with almost or exactly like the same results we have achieved, or maybe even better than this one. Because every time you create something, it gets even better. Because when I look at this center part is little too dark, and this one is very bright. So I think this looks more attractive than something like this. Okay, so but the only point is, if we want to create something like this, how can we? And here we have achieved like this using all the techniques we have learned so far. We have used nothing else out of these 10 chapters. The only thing we have used is one, the effect thing, and the second is the arrange, sending to forward and send back. These only two things we have used. Even without using these two things, we could have achieved this clock by using some tricks and all, but it is just a convenient one to use the effects over here. So I hope this example is clear to you, and we will be creating much more example like this in future, and as we keep learning new stuff, we will keep creating even more complex examples. So just a little advice that whatever you are learning from these videos, keep practicing those things, because when we create something like this and you have already practiced all these tools and all these features, so it becomes really easy to understand what is actually going on in the video. Otherwise, if you don't practice anything, then you will be wondering all the time that how this has happened, how that has happened, and you might miss so many information or so much information that I have told you. So yeah, just a bit of advice that keep practicing whatever you learn. And with this, I'm gonna end this video now. I know this time we just created a single example and the video finished, but this kind of exercises are also required just to brush up the skills a bit. And from tomorrow onwards, we will again see some more features of Illustrator. And I hope I see you in my next video. So goodbye for now.